Hello everybody, Steve Griffiths here, developer of the MTPredictor software program. In today's MTPredictor video, I'd like to look at how it helps to incorporate some of the other tools within the MTPredictor software program into your analysis. And in today's video, I'd like to look at an example from one of the Indian markets. But before we get on to that, I have to remind you that all examples in these videos should be considered as hypothetical. No trades are actually taken, they're just shown for illustration and training purposes only. Remind you there's a risk of loss in trading and investing. We'll be looking at a losing trade in today's video, and as such all professional traders know and understand, no matter what trading approach they take, in that losses can and will and do happen. Right, so I want to have a look at the Nifty, which is one of the markets over there in India, and I want to have a look at a 3-minute chart. You can see we have some various setups here, some on our black MTP trend, some on a red MTP trend, but I want to look at incorporating some of the other tools in MTPredictor to try and get an idea of which would be the slightly higher probability trade setups. Remember, MTPredictor is not a black box system where you blindly take all the setups regardless, even if they're in the direction of our MTP trend. You want to have a clear pattern coming together, and this is probably a good example of where other factors can come in to give you that little bit more confidence. But first I want to use our training mode, and I want to jump back to around here somewhere and have a look what the market did as it declined down into this low. If you right mouse click over this bottom, do Elliott Wave Intermediate, can you see how it made a five wave sequence? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This was also the last swing into the low. Now what do we know about a completed five wave sequence? Well, we know that the first sort of target area or resistance area, in this case as the market will be rallying up on this wave 5 low, is the DP off the previous wave 4 high in this case. So the DP off this previous wave 4 high. So if I right mouse click, do decision point, that gives you an area. Can you see how it's on the chart in advance of potential resistance? Looking at this another way, this is also the last swing into the low. This is what we've looked at in several webinars in the past. We'll use the last swing into the high or low to then use as an area of support or resistance. So if I now turn training mode off, can you see what happened a bit later? Is the market rallied up? It rallied up into this particular area. So there were two sell setups here. So can you see how that even though this TS2 sell was on a red MTP trend, it didn't have the additional confirmation of this resistance area as well. And this is why we say you don't just take all the setups just blindly without any regard to anything else. It gives you more confidence if more things are coming together to tell you the same picture. So as you came up into this high here, this would give you a bit more confidence. In fact, actually I'll just use training mode just to show that as well. So go back to here. There was actually a sell setup there, but it wasn't triggered because if you look for the next buy, you can see it didn't go through the sell trigger. We then had a TS4 sell here, a W3 TS4 sell here. So this would have been a good one because it was at this DP resistance as well. So a 5-wave sequence up into the DP from the wave 4. Other things were telling you that this was an area of potential resistance as well as our red MTP trend. So let's place our analysis on here now, and that gave you a potential short trade, potentially good target all the way down here. But let's see what happened as the market went forward. We go forward, it would have taken you into a short trade here. Remember, we use position sizing to keep our initial risk small under control. It then started to rally back up again and would have stopped you out. It would have stopped you out for a losing trade. This is what I said right at the start, is that losses can and will and do unfold. No matter how good your trade setup looks, there will always be losing trades, and it's important to understand this. But using position sizing, that loss will be kept small at -1R. Just clear everything off. I'll put that DP back on again. Let's see what happened as we move forward a bit further. We then got another wave 3 or W3 trade setup come in on this bar here. So we now right mouse click, do analysis, and again the position sizing would have taken care of the number of contracts, and that would have been our target right the way down there, the typical wave 3 WPT. If I turn training mode off, let's see what happened for the rest of the day. The market actually went down. It went down into our decision point area here. That was fairly close to the close. The market was getting close to the close. So rather than wanting to run all the way down here to your target, right the way down here, you may well have said at this level, enough's enough, and I'll come out with a plus 4.5 hour profit. Or maybe you'd want to trail just above the 1 bar high for a 2.9, or can I call that 3? Is that near enough for a 3-hour profit? But can you see how this profit, even here at plus 3R, 2.9R, is greater than the loss earlier, so would have made you money overall. And perhaps right the way down here at nearly 4.5R, it would have been a lot greater than the minus 1R loss there. But the main reason for doing this video was just to show you how you can combine other techniques in with your MTPredictor analysis. For example, we know as the market came down to this low, that because this was a 5-wave sequence, that there will be a resistance as the market, in this case, rallies up to the DP from the prior wave 4. So you'd have had that on your chart ready, and then be ready for a potential resistance area here. So this is why looking at these setups would have probably been a higher probability setups than just trying to take this TS2 sell here. So if you had have taken that, the market basically went sideways for a couple of bars. Do you see that? It went sideways for a couple of bars before taking you in. So you would have probably cancelled your order, because we like trades to basically take you into a trade setup quickly after being found. In other words, the market going sideways like this is not a good sign. You probably would have cancelled your order and not traded that anyway. But the point being is, because this was not at our DP resistance here, it was not as high a probability trade setup as the ones up here. So that's why I'm just doing this video, to show you how you can use other techniques in MTPredictor to help to uncover your trades. And as we've seen here, this would have resulted in a losing trade. Losses can and will and do unfold. Then a profitable trade, but a profit that would be larger than the losing trade earlier, and as such made you money overall. So a good example of using other tools in MTPredictor to help you give you added confidence. Remember, MTPredictor is not a black box system. We don't blindly follow all these trade setups in the direction of our MTP trend. We want other things to come together to tell us or give us higher confidence in those particular trade setups. Because it's basic markets are random about half the time, so we're looking for places when the market is not random. In other words, other things are coming together to help give you confidence in your MTPredictor trade setups. And this was a good example here, particularly as we're at the DP off the wave 4 following a completed 5-wave sequence.